Hey guys. What I want to talk about today is what to do when a freelance client starts treating you like an employee. Now I know at first that could seem like a good thing, like, oh well, great, they're making me feel like a member of the team. We're very engaged, we're working very closely, and yes, when you are a freelancer, you do want to present yourself and you want to act like you're a member of the team, you're invested, absolutely. However, there is a difference between being freelance and being on staff, and totally aside from like paycheck stuff and taxes stuff. What I mean when it becomes a problem when a freelance client thinks of you as available to them at any time, the way that you would be if you were on staff. So for example, if a freelance client emails you in the middle of the day and says, hey, just sending these over, can we get these done by end of day? Or even worse, hey, I'm sending these over, we're gonna need these by end of day. Now, if you were an employee, arguably that might be reasonable because they own your time. But when you are a freelancer, that's not the case. You have plenty of other clients and you aren't able to just drop things for them. Even if you do retainer work for a client, meaning that they have you or they reserve a certain number of hours on your schedule per week, even if that's the case, even if it's 10, 20 hours per week that they have you reserved for, that they have you on retainer, it's still not reasonable for them to give you something in the middle of the day and say, okay, we're gonna need this by end of day. That might not be how the hours work out for you. They don't have the right to do that, but the only person that can stop that from happening, maybe that's a nice way of saying it, is you, which means that you have to put together some boundaries. You have to be willing to stand in ownership of the fact that you are a professional, you have other clients, and nobody else gets to tell you how you spend your time. Now, you don't have to be aggressive about this. You don't have to be upset or angry or anything along those lines. All you really have to do is just send an email back and say, definitely happy to help you with this. Unfortunately, I'm not able to turn this around today. I've taken a look at my schedule and I can get it back to you on Thursday, or something like that. And you may, if they do it a couple of times, you may be able to say, hey, so-and-so, always happy to do this work for you. However, you should know that I'm not going to be able to turn around work overnight. The more time you can give, since I of course have other clients, I'm not able to turn around work overnight. The more notice you can give me, the better. I will always do my best to accommodate you, but I just can never guarantee that I'm going to be able to do next day work, which, by the way, is very reasonable, right? They don't own you. They don't own your schedule. They may want something next day, but that doesn't mean that they get to get it. Now, of course, if you have a client that's generally a really fantastic client and they come to you and they say, oh my gosh, this project is crazy, all this stuff got backed up, is there any way that you could turn this around for tomorrow or something, whatever? And if you're able to do that, if you like this client and you want to do this and you know it's a one-time thing and you're able to do it, then yeah, in that scenario, absolutely. You can say, okay, I normally would never do this, but you're a great client and I understand you're in a bind, so I'm gonna move stuff around a little bit, whether or not you're actually moving stuff around. I'm gonna move stuff around a little bit and I can get this done for you by, whenever. The problem is when it's the expectation that they can give you any kind of deadline or any kind of timeline and you're just allowed to follow it. Or you're not allowed, you're expected to follow it, because that's not how it works. But again, like I said, all you have to do is just very clearly set those boundaries. When they try to get you to turn something around faster than normal, or when they don't confer with you on when is a reasonable date for you to send work back. Now, most clients will understand this. Most clients, especially once you've had 1 or 2 projects where they worked with you to figure out what the date is that you'll deliver the work, most clients will say, oh, we have a project, it's very similar to the last one we did. We can definitely set up a kickoff call, but when do you think it'd be reasonable to get it back by next week, Thursday, or something like that? But if a client does not understand that, it's going to be on you to set those boundaries. And you want to set them as soon as something like that happens, because if they start sending you things and they start getting used to getting things day of or next day, it's going to be a lot harder for you to put on the brakes and put it in reverse. So you want to set those boundaries as soon as possible, because remember, they don't know unless you tell them. So communicate those boundaries. And personally, I've worked with, I was going to say often, but I've worked with, project managers who are younger and who have been, I'm the freelancer, but my contact at the company, I was hired by the marketing director or whatever, but the contact for the project is younger, newer, and in that scenario, I think this young woman was being given directives by her boss or the boss's boss, like, okay, get this to the copywriter, and we're going to need this back by blah, 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 blah. And so all she was doing was going, okay, that's what I have to get done. And she went over to me and she went, here, I need this done by end of day, something like that. And then, partially that was just because she was new to business as a whole. But it didn't matter. I still had to set that expectation with her and let her understand that that's not how I work. That's not how freelancers work. I can't turn around anything that quickly. So it's all a matter of setting those boundaries and just communicating. I know it can be tricky when you're like, oh, I really like this client, I don't want to say anything negative. This isn't negative at all. This is helping to educate your client about how to work better with you and how to, and frankly, work better with all freelancers, but how to ensure that this project and all future projects go smoothly. So it's all about communication, and again, communicating as soon as any kinds of issues like this come up. If you don't guard your own boundaries, nobody else is going to guard them for you. Remember that clients don't know how to be clients. Often we have to teach them. So if you are starting to if your clients are starting to push those boundaries a little bit, which they may not even realize is pushing boundaries, but when they start to get into that space, it's on you to set those boundaries and communicate efficiently and effectively and as soon as possible. Okay, so that's what I have for you today. Don't be afraid to talk to your clients. It's not negative. You're just teaching them how to work better with you. That's what I got for you. I hope that that's helpful, and I will catch you guys later. Bye.